Any questions out from what we discussed last time?
Hi, sir. So,
Yeah, go ahead. Go
hello,
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
sir. What is meant by angel investment?
So angel investments are kind of in generally a kind of in subset of a private equity. Um, so so suppose if you're starting a new business and you're not getting funds easily from the market because your nature of the business is too risky or something like that, so you're finding it difficult to raise funds from the traditional set of investors, then generally generally an angel investor who has a higher risk appetite comes in and funds those initiatives. So angel investors are those investors who invest into high risk appetite business or largely the startup segment.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Anything else? I think if I'm not wrong, we've discussed this slide, correct? Because this is the important part of this section. So unless anybody has a doubt in this slide. Okay. So I take that as no. You have no doubts, questions for this slide. So uh, now from a structure perspective, so investment bank is generally broadly divided into these three categories from an internal organization perspective. So these three categories are front office, mid office, and back office. And so the front office is the team where uh, front office is a team where we are responsible for interacting with the client. So the front office generally brings is a sales team of the organization. Let me put this way. So they are responsible for the sales. They're responsible for interacting with the customers. They're responsible for making those pitches to the client and making those interactions or helping the clients to make those decisions in terms of investments and analysis. So this is a team who is the first point of contact when a client reaches out to the organization. Uh, any support that front office needs to structure the deals in terms of documentation, in terms of analysis, in terms of research, stuff like this. So then your mid office and back office comes with the picture. So let me try and give an example so that you understand this. So for example, if you go to Axis Bank and want to open your account, the person with whom you interact when you want to open your account is the person is a front office person. So he's the salesperson, and when you interact with him, say, okay, I want to open this account and so on. So he says, okay, give me this documents. So once you give those documents are submitted back to their mid office team. The mid office team checks those documents and submits that back to the back office team, and then finally the back office team issues your account number, your checkbook, your passbook, your user ID and password. So that's pretty similar the way it works in our setup. The only difference is what we do from a front office perspective is not just going and meeting the client, correct? It's not selling a current account or selling and fixed deposits. It's much bigger and complicated products. So, but in terms of structure, it remains same. So the sales team is responsible for the interaction with the client, and once the sales team gets a business from the client, they would need some support. That support could be in form of documentation, could be in form of IT support, could be legal stuff like this, and that's where the back office and the mid office comes into the picture. Any questions out so far? Hello, am I audible, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. So any questions in this structure? Okay. So in case you're not asking the question and you don't respond, I have no option but to assume that you're comfortable with this. Now the remaining features is what we have already discussed in terms of what is commercial bank, what is corporate bank. Correct, to discuss this, correct? What is commercial bank? Commercial bank has corporate bank, retail bank. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Nishant.
Now, from a career perspective, so the primarily this financial analysis helps you to get into the research side. Now, this could be economic research, or could be a company research, economic research, or could be a sectorial research as well, which is also called as industry research. So we call this as the EIC approach. So E is your economic research, I is your industry research, and C is your company research. So depending upon your experience, tenure, and your seniority, you're being asked to do these kind of research. So company research means you're doing a research on the company, whether the client should invest or not, and stuff like this. And industry research is, so let's look this from this perspective, from top-down perspective. So let's assume there's a global investor, and the global investor has, let's assume, $10 million, and he wants to invest. So he can invest across the economy. So first analysis that you need to make for the client is which economy that he should invest. So let's assume you've done an economic analysis and you've selected India as one of those economies where he should invest. So that's the first piece, which is economic analysis. Now, within India, you need to figure out which sector, which industry. So let's assume you select banking, and let's assume auto sector. So that analysis is the industry analysis or sectorial analysis. And let's say you have selected auto, and within auto, suppose you select, suppose, Maruti and Honda. So that becomes a company analysis. Any doubt? Okay. So
Nishant,
yeah, Parul, go ahead.
sector and industry are different things.
That's pretty similar.
Okay.
For this piece, we can say this is very similar, but if I want to go with very technical concept or very technical demarcation, so sector is little broader than an industry. But at least for the sake of this slide and for at least for this session, it's pretty similar.
Okay.
And as a research analyst, what are the responsibilities that will come in case we take you on board, or if you're being hired by any other organization as well? So, so the primary role is this piece. As I told you, now this analysis could be either for an economic analysis, or could be an industry analysis, or could be a company analysis as well. So that depends upon purely in terms of how does the organization take you on the board. But irrespective of which segment, we still will be conducting the analysis. So that's the key part of this roles and nature. The key requirement from a delivery perspective for such kind of jobs in the market. And why you're doing this? You're doing this because so that you can help the client to decide this, which means you're trying to recommend to the client. You're trying to recommend to the client what is good for investment, and how would you recommend that to the client by evaluating whether that investment is a good, by evaluating the feasibility of that investment, the viability of that investment, whether it's one of those good from economic perspective is a good investment or not. So that's what you do. So this is point number one, and I can put these two. So the objective of this is this, and once you do this, then you try and recommend you prepare action plans, and through this you try and give recommendation to the client. And of course, while you're conducting analysis, you look at different data points. You analyze those data points, you interpret those data points so that you can do that analysis phase. Any doubt on this? Yeah, Deepak.
In this, probably it's a very early question. Probably you will be deliberating on this in a detail for that. What are the data source for analysis, and how the data will be, because it will not be available to all public or in public domain.
So they're both categories of the data. So one category of the data which is easily available in the public domain. So for example, the annual report of the company, the information that company has put on the website and stuff like this, and any announcement made by the made by the company or the management or the board of directors. Now, and historical share price movement, their quarterly results, and the transcript that the management issues along with the quarterly result. Now, some of these data points would be very easily available in the public domain. It's not that when we try and search this data, or somebody from our back office try and search the data for us, they need to access some very complicated databases or the software to get this. So it's not the case. Yes, there are some databases where those databases are not easily available in the public domain, and those data points are being sourced from some of the paid databases or softwares. It could be Bloomberg, Reuters, or stuff like this. And the third category comes in where those data points are not available in the public domain easily, and also not available into the paid databases of the softwares. Then you try and get more information through your contact, through your expertise, through your knowledge and stuff like this. And that's where the differentiation in the research starts coming in.
I have one further question on this. Is that if it is same for M&A part also, and if we are sourcing it from our own source and whatever it is, how the data will be validated?
So for the M&A, see, be it an M&A, be it in a private equity investment, be it an IPO. So in terms of the broad categories of the data points, it remains pretty same, the three categories that I mentioned. So it's public domain, which is freely available. Then you have a second category, which is available in the public domain, but it's not freely available. You have to pay a cost to get that information. And the third is what I told you is what we call as more of a confidential or an information that for which you have to make a lot of effort. Now, be it an M&A, be it any other kind of a transaction, the broader category of data points remains same. Now, your second question in terms of validity of the data. So validity of the data, you need to understand what validity are we referring to. So for example, for the point one, I don't think for the first data point, you don't need any validity. So if the company audited annual results says the profit is 100 rupees or the PAT is 100 rupees, do you need any further validity on this?
I'm asking about the data biases and for valid means on that part.
Correct. So I have told you three categories of the data, correct, or three broad sources of the data. So I'm responding to your validity question on each of these individual rather than trying to give you a generic and clubbed answer. So for the first category of the data point, do you need any validity? Because those information are we referring to the information either put up by the company on their website, or either the company, the information that company has disclosed either in their annual report or quarterly results. So are we comfortable that the company ने जो disclose किया होगा, that too after making after being signed off by the auditor of the board of the company, it's a good reliable information to rely on, या आप उसको दोबारा validate करना चाहोगे for the first data point?
Means if it is audited by a firm, then it is means it will be okay. But can we find any biases on that presenting the data?
Yes, there's no doubt about it. In the past, there have been cases, correct? Satyam case, I don't know whether you've read about this.
Yes.
Satyam
That
case
was
an
PwC.
Yes, it's on audited results, correct? Still, there were concerns and there were questions that were raised whether it was right and wrong, correct? It's altogether separate debate that was conducted, but without getting into the debate, they were, I think, some questions which were not answered by PwC, at least to my satisfaction when I read those responses from the PwC management. But to answer your question, yes, there are possibilities. There have been cases in the past where your data points, these data points, even given by the company after doing an edits, have got those the elements of the biasness, or have got the elements of incorrectness and stuff like this. But that's what you need to understand, how far you can go and check. So if the company has got the results audited from a third and independent party, now what else you can do? The only thing that I can think of, you go to another auditor and say, can you audit this, right, people? You have any?
Yes.
So keep on doing this, correct? That's a call that you need to take as an analyst. That in a year you will be doing a research for probably 20 or 30 companies. Are you willing to spend that much of cost and going to auditor for all those 20-30 companies and say, we are not comfortable on the audit that's being done by the auditor of the company, but we want another audit to be done? So that's a call that you need to take. In the real world, we don't do that, because if you've got an audited result, what's the object? Why regulator has put this requirement of these companies to publish an audited result? You need to understand that, because the regulator himself, SEBI himself, understand that yes, if the company is issuing their own results without a third independent party checking this, there's a possibility of the conflict and the biasness coming in. That's the reason they have told that you go to the third independent party and let them finally sign off or finally audit for that my public or my investors are comfortable that this data is something good to rely on. Deepak, does this answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, please. On the third data point, so on the second data point where I'm accessing the data from, let's say, Reuters, Bloomberg, and other databases, if I don't have the reliability or comfort on the database, stop the subscription, move to the another database. So, for example, you have subscribed to Times of India at your home, so that when the newspaper comes to your home and you open the newspaper, do you validate that information, Deepak? That do you go out of the market, do you step out of your house and say, okay, Times of India में ये 4 news है आज, तो मैं खुद validate करूँगा? No. If you don't trust that newspaper, maximum what you can do, okay, from tomorrow I will not buy Times of India, probably I will buy Hindustan Times. Correct?
Yes, because we cannot do anything on that. Yeah.
That's the validity piece on the second data point, where we extract the data from some of the very heavily paid softwares in the databases. So if you believe, the reason we have subscribed to the database itself is that we have done those checks and we are comfortable basis the past performance of those databases, that yes, these are some of the databases where we can rely on. Of course, I'm not saying these are 100% accurate, but these are very, very closer to the 100% accuracy, so that we can try and rely on. Okay. Third is more complicated piece. So third is where the information is not publicly available. It's not an information which is available in the website of the company. This is not an information where I'm extracting directly from some software or the database. So the third information is where I try and source the information from my contacts, my experience, my gut feeling, and my ability to read between the lines and stuff like this. So over there, because you are the one who is you're the one who is trying to source those data points. It's completely your call up to what level you want to go and do those validations. Deepak, does it answer your question for all these data points?
And number 3, if you are working independently, then it's okay. If you're working for an investment bank, still your data source can be relied upon.
I didn't understand that question. Could you elaborate?
My point is that if you are working for a firm who's an investment banker, will your personal source of data is acceptable, or it
What
will
do
again
you,
be validated by
what do you mean your
some?
personal source of data?
What I've got in the third one is you're told that you are sourcing it from some source, not a validate authentic source. What you are told about Bloomberg and all that. Other data source, what you have mentioned on that
Huh.
part.
Huh. Yeah, so that's not personal information, correct? I'm not getting the information from my home, correct? So that information or those are anyways probably would have been agreed at an organization level that are we comfortable to use these data points or use these sources or not? And that's and if yes, then you as an analyst try and get those information. So for example, think like this: you're running a news channel, and you are one of the journalists or one of those reporters into the news channel. From where do you get the information for your news? Are any information that you bring in, are all those where you have got information from public domain? No, correct. Some of the information you try and get so from some of your contacts or some of your stuffs, which could be little not completely in the public domain, right, Deepak?
You mean to say that it is included in the framework of the company?
Of course, that has to be correct, because then
Yes.
you as a journalist has to pay some amount also to get that information. So if the organization has not defined the framework for that, then you will not be paying for that amount, correct? It's not a free cost. It's the information is not freely easily available to you.
Agree. Okay.
And when organization would have agreed on that framework for the third data point, they would have acknowledged the risk that okay, if we are comfortable of this source of data, do we want to validate this or not? And if the organization decides no, we don't want to validate, we don't want to incur the cost, then they would have acknowledged that okay, the risk is ABC. Then as an organization, that's the way you run the businesses, correct? That you understand the risk and you understand okay, this risk, am I willing to take that risk or not? If yes, this risk is justified for the reward or for the money that I want to make out of this business. That's the way we run businesses. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Nishant. One small question. The analyst also
Sorry,
defines the risk.
Give me a second. So Deepak, does this answer your both these questions? Are we good enough to close this?
Yes. Yes.
Before I go to Parul. Okay, thanks. Yeah, Parul, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Like the risk part, the analyst also defines the risk associated with these research as they cannot
Yes.
authenticate the sources.
No, so ऐसे नहीं करते हम लोग. So what we don't do, okay, मैंने information A source से निकाल. So while preparing a research report, I do not list out, okay, I've got the information from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C is being validated. D, F is not validated. That's not the way we work, correct? So what you would say, you will put your associated risk for this investments, and then you will put a disclaimer at the end that these information are based on whatever capacity that you want to put in. So let me put it this way. So when you read a newspaper, or when you're looking at some following some news channel, Parul, after every news, do they tell you okay, this is validated, this is not validated? or they just put one disclaimer either at the beginning of the news or at the beginning of at the end of the show that these are subject to ABC legal disclosures, correct?
Yes.
That's the way these
Okay, like
are
these
being
are
done.
also sold. The investment recommendations and the analysis is sold
Yes.
like as we sell the insurance policies, like
They're no
with the
free.
disclaimer.
Correct. There are no free charities, correct? There are no free lunches in this world. So all this is a commercial setup, correct? The any advice that you ask from me has to be commercial advice, correct? So, for example, in this class, if you ask me, say, where should I invest? I have 10,000 rupees. I'm not going to open my mouth. That's pretty simple and straightforward. So, no advice would be kind of in those. Of course, as in a capacity of the trainer, we will have those discussions. But in a capacity of an investment banker or as a capacity of a fund manager, I would not be giving you those advice. Or nobody will be giving those advices.
Okay. It would be based upon the risk appetite of the investor, whether he like take upon that idea or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. Am I audible? Hello. Hello.
Yes, Nishant.
Yeah. Sorry.
Nishant, what is meant by ongoing financial analysis?
Ongoing financial analysis. So, for example, if you are my client and let's say you come to me and suppose and you tell me that I want to invest, so I will do that for one analysis for you at the beginning and say, okay, and based on that analysis, I've given you recommendation. Okay, invest into let's assume Maruti Suzuki Limited, and you've invested in that. So the one way to look at this relationship is okay, this is done. Now the other way to look at this, you say no, I've invested, but continue to give me this analysis on an ongoing basis, which means I would do this analysis on a periodic basis to come back to you and tell, okay, you have invested this at the beginning of the year. Now after 3 months or after 6 months, is this good to continue to invest it in this, or no? Now this is not the right time, and this company or this stock has performed not as per our expectation. Hence, let's exit or let's move out of this. So that's called as an ongoing analysis. इन्वेस्ट करने के बाद भी आप करते रहते हो so that you can tell the client that it's a right time to exit or it's a right time to or it's still
It's
good time
okay
to
to
continue in this or exit from this, or case two, the company is performing good but we have now identified another stock which is performing much better than this, so hence let's move to that company.
Okay.
The very easy example that I can give you so that you can correlate with this. So for example, if you have once you completed your post graduation MBA or whatever the education that you plan, and suppose you decide, okay, I want to work for a corporate, and you've prepared yourself from an interview perspective and stuff like this, and you've gone and given an interview and got selected. Does this end for you from a career perspective? Then no. Even after you join an organization, at some period of time you will do those continuous analysis to see, okay, is there a good option available in the market for me or not, and basis that you take those calls, correct?
Yes. Okay, understood.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir, am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, Vishal has pinged a question in the group.
Hello.
Yeah, Nishant. Vishal has pinged that I think I'm not audible. Please tell me how to analyze someone's financials.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, you
Yes,
are audible, but periodically you are going on mute.
No, I think there is some because this system is getting hang. So is this for me or is this platform for you also is creating problem today?
No, for me it's not there. I don't know about the rest of the people, but periodically you are going on mute. Is it a system issue? I don't know.
So because in last 30 60 seconds I was trying to speak but I was not getting response from anybody. Then I realized it's
Because
you.
we are not able to hear you,
Yeah. And then I saw that on my
and
screen it got hanged.
it's muted.
Yeah, correct. So my screen is getting hanged. Uh, is the Omni on this line? Okay, let me check on that. Yeah. So where were we? Yeah. So in terms of uh, so in terms of the in terms of the uh, ongoing viability, so that's what I was explaining, that most of the big clients, they do not take the services one time. They will come and say, okay, you please advise where should I invest, and then they stay with you and they expect you to give the periodic feeds or periodic recommendations back to them, and that's where this ongoing analysis or research comes into the picture.
Hello. Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, Vishal.
Sir, how we can analyze someone's financials?
करेंगे ना, वही तो
मतलब
कराना है. करेंगे.
अच्छा, okay.
This journey will will be primarily about those pieces as well. मतलब करेंगे मतलब मेरा I'm not sure which sessions will come for this batch will come to me, but in this journey you will do those tools and techniques through which how do we analyze those financials, what are the parameters that we look at, and how do we finally make those decisions or recommendations to the client. So that will be part of this entire journey.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, Avash.
Yeah, sir, what kind of responsibility of analysis in a house? And second
Sorry.
question is this: what kind of a responsibility in a house of an analyst?
My voice is not very
Only
clear.
for-
Can you?
Yeah, sure. Hello,
Yeah.
sir. My question is: what kind of responsibility of analyst in a house? And this scenario have shows in code
What is the
only for things
responsibility of
of analyst in a house.
house?
In a house, yeah, in a house in man's in a corporate sector.
Hello, sir, you're not audible.
Hello.
Hey, Vishal, I still didn't got your first question. So it's about responsibility of the in-house analysis. Is that what you're trying to ask?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And my second question is here in showing in my in the front of here is showing only for four major four kinds of responsibility. Is it similar or it can be broad? Anything else?
Honestly, I've not understood your first question. So let me try and first articulate the questions. So are you trying to ask what is the responsibility of the in-house analyst? Is that what you're trying to ask?
Yes.
So be it an in-house, be it an outsource, is pretty same. So there's no difference because you're technically doing the analysis. Now, it does not make a difference whether you are in-house or the organization for which you're doing the analysis or you're an outsourced. So that's why I'm not sure whether I've got your question right or are you trying to ask something else as well. So there's no differentiation in terms of approach, in terms of responsibility, be it an in-house, be it in working on a third party or an outsource. In fact, when you're in-house, you are in much more pressure to perform because you know if your boss is making those investment and you're doing those analysis for him or her, and if those investment doesn't turn out to or doesn't perform the way you expected or the way you projected in your research, then of course you will have a problem or difficulty at the end of the year when the appraisals will come.
So second, my question is it can my second question as a in a accounting field, accounting and finance is a prepared some like a cash flow statement for 3 months, quarterly, half month, yearly, and 6 month and yearly basis. It can so regular same similar things data collected and prepared the analysis.
Oh, could you repeat the question? थोड़ा सा आपका आवाज इतना clear नहीं आ रहा है. So if you could speak more closer to mic, that will help.
Hello.
Yeah.
Could you audible, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello.
Go
So
ahead.
my question is like a financial finance department and accounting department is the prepare of the data quarterly basis, balance sheet, cash flow, like depend on the turnovers. So same situation in a integrated in a analysis.
So are you asking that in a accounting
Yeah.
format or in for an accounting team, they generally prepare these statements on a quarterly basis? Is
Yeah.
the same frequency that we use when we look at from financial analysis? Is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Is it about the frequency?
Yes, sir. Frequency.
So there's no defined rule to this. So it completely depends. So for example, in India, any listed company, there's a regulatory requirement, or they are under an obligation to publish their audited results at least on a quarterly basis. So that's where that's the reason why these companies do this on a quarterly basis. Now, from an analyst perspective, there's no requirement that I need to publish on a quarterly basis, or I need to do this analysis on a quarterly. I can do on daily basis, I can do on annually basis, and I can do once in 5 years also. That's completely a call that an organization and the analyst needs to make basis the discussion with the client. You need to be mindful that higher is the frequency, higher is the cost to the client. Now, whether the client is willing to pay that cost, is that something that you need to discuss with the client?
Okay. Thank you.
So, can you explain the first one, determine financial viability of investments?
So, viability of the financial investments, we're referring to when a client comes to you and say, I have a $10 million, can you tell me which is the good investment? What you're trying to do? You're trying to evaluate what are the good investment options for the client. That's nothing but how do you do that? You evaluate each of the options what's available into the defined pool, and then you try and select some of the better options or better stocks or better investment options which are expected to perform better vis-a-vis the other, and that's what you're trying to evaluate the feasibility or the viability of those investments.
So basically, sir, basically we see the which stocks are performing better. According to that, we advise the client.
Yes, so depend करता है. अगर आपसे stocks की बात करें तो हाँ, generally the way we look at these for our clients, this is not only limited to stocks, it goes beyond stocks as well. But yes, what we're looking at is be it a stock or be it other investment options, you're trying to help the client, or you're trying to recommend to the client, is this good or not?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Nothing else on this slide? In terms of the, I think this and the next, so these couple of slides, I think is important slide, at least from today's session from an agenda perspective. Now, so this slide talks about what are the technical skills that we look at when we go and hire people, or when we look at hiring talent in the market. Now, from a technical, so this what I've done, I've broken us into two parts. One is the technical, and then the second is the behavioral. So the next slide will talk about the behavioral parts that we look at. The reason why I believe these two slides is important, and I deliberately discuss this at the beginning of this journey, so that you understand, okay, these are some of the stuffs that recruiter or the people in the corporate side look at when they hire people into the team. And you should start targeting each of these, at how can I get this skill set, how can I build these abilities, because you will be tested around these segments, you will be tested around these skills when we will be going through those interview or selection process. So that's the reason why I believe this becomes important at the beginning of the journey, so that when we're getting into the mainstream of this journey, okay, at the end you will be going through interview process, depending upon which company you apply in. Now, those companies look at A, B, C, D, and let me start working on all of these skill sets, so that I can achieve this in next 3, 4, 4.5 months, whatever duration that you spend with us. before I go into these slides, in terms of background and the purpose and why I believe this is important, is that clear? Any questions or comments, anything I want to add to this on that before I go into these two specific slides? Okay. Now, from a technical perspective, the way I would rank this, so to me, this is the first piece. So I would rank this as one, because when we go and recruit, my preference is to check whether the candidate has an ability to analyze stuff, and then this comes, and this probably comes at both put together is a second requirement. Then okay, whether you have an ability to do this or not, and second, do you have a probably mindset and preferences, and are you comfortable with the numbers? How well you are comfortable with the numbers? Do you understand what's happening around? Do you have an ability to link what's happening around, and you're able to think of something more than what's written on the current sources of the informations? And this piece is, I think, pretty simple in terms of your Excel skills, because what we do, 99% of our stuff is being done in the Excel. So the last piece from a technical perspective becomes your Excel skill set. So this is the way you need to understand that from a technical perspective, we are trying, if you want to get into this segment of the industry, you need to have very, very strong analytical skills. You need to able to, because why does a client comes to you? It's a consultancy business. You need to understand this. For example, like a doctor is a consultancy business, correct? You go to the doctor and say, I'm not feeling well. So what is the expectation from the doctor is to diagnose what's the problem, and then also understand, okay, each human body is a different body. Each human body may react differently to different medicines and different drugs. Each disease might behave differently in different bodies. So that's the expectation from a doctor, that the good doctor is able to understand and then accordingly treat the patient. Similarly, the client comes to you and say, okay, I'm going through this problem, I will do this. You cannot have a fixed defined strategy for each of these clients. So it will vary from change to change. It will vary from scenario to scenario. It will vary from the nature of the transaction and so on. And that's where your ability to analyze stuff comes into the picture. So it's not like this. For example, let's say five investors comes to you, and each has $10 million, and you say, okay, for each of these 5 investors, I give the same recommendation from an investment perspective. No, for each of these, you probably would have a different recommendation, and that's where the analytical skills comes into picture. Whether you have an ability to understand these 4 are different or these 5 are different. If yes, to what extent? What are their different risk appetites? What is the time horizon they are looking from an investment perspective, and stuff like this. So we will cover these pieces when we reach to those cases, but that's the point number 1. Point number 1, what I have mentioned, which is mentioned in point 2 on the screen, the ability to analyze. How would you analyze those things? You need to rely on what's happening around, what's a trend, what the data point that's happening around, and in terms of the financial numbers. You bring all these together, and then you create an ability to analyze those stuff. During the process, of course, you will heavily use those Excels and other softwares, and then you also try and see, are you comfortable or how good you are in these Excel stuffs as well. So any questions, queries on this?
We would be having separate sessions for Excel.
Yes. So let me cover this all 4 points. So let me get a different color marker for this. So in this journey, definitely we will help you to build this. So there's no doubt about this. In the entire journey, the major focus would be on the analysis side. Now, how much you take back, it's completely individual. But yes, this journey will cover the skill set and will help each of you to build those analytical skill sets. So that's sorted. Which sorted in the sense, yes, it would be covered a part of this journey. Now, something on this. Now, this has two elements. One, that's one piece will come naturally to you. So, for example, somebody, if I ask Parul or let's say somebody else, say how comfortable you are with the numbers. Some people are not very comfortable with the numbers. They don't enjoy playing with the numbers. They don't enjoy analyzing numbers, stuff like this. So that's why I said one piece is what is naturally will come to you. If you're not, if naturally or historically you're not very comfortable with the numbers, you struggle a lot. Struggle not from a perspective of calculation नहीं आती मेरे को, वो आपको नहीं करना है, वो Excel करके देगा आपको. It's about just people have a lot of mindset issues as well that I'm not very comfortable. They struggle a lot in terms of when they start seeing a lot of numbers on the screen at the same time. So that is something which I will not be helpful to help. But yes, this is something you need to work on yourself in terms of you should become comfortable. What the journey will do, it will give you a lot of opportunities to become comfortable with these numbers. There's a lot of calculation that will do together, and you will get a lot of stuff to work at your home as well. So which should help you to overcome this bottleneck in case you have this bottleneck. Now, point number one, keeping yourself updated in terms of what's happening. Now, again, this will have two parts. One is relevant to the discussion that we will have in the class, so that will be taken care of. And the another part is something which is not related to this session that you need to manage on your own. So, for example, what's happening in the economy. So there would be few pieces which are not pertaining to these sessions. So hence we will not bring in those into classes. But it's important that you read newspapers. I think we've discussed this at length. I will not try and waste time again on those pieces again. I think we spoke about newspapers, correct, guys?
No, sir.
No.
Sorry?
No, we haven't.
Is the same? Is this response same for the others as well? I think I remember I mentioned about the आपको newspaper पढ़ना चाहिए, and we discussed. I think spent some 5-10 minutes discussing around those things. Guys,
No.
okay, so for Kritika it's no. So what about others?
No, sir. We
I
didn't.
think no.
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir. No.
Not this bad, sir.
Okay. So for this point, there are two parts. One is you need to keep yourself updated in terms of what's happening around. The good source of doing that is the newspapers. So it's important that you read newspapers regularly. So that's something that you need to manage and take care yourself individually. There would be some topics that you will go and read in the newspaper, and that would be relevant to the topics that we're discussing in the class, or probably the same case studies might be coming in the class. So of course those will get discussed in the class as well. But I would not, or this journey, the structure of the program is not like this, that every day or every weekend in the class we will go through those 4, 5, 6 days newspaper of the week and we'll discuss those. That's not the plan. So which means you need to individually understand that this is important for your career, and you need to put your extra effort individually to see, okay, at least can I continuously and on a regular basis can I read the newspapers? Of course, when you will read that, there would be few questions you might not understand those stuff. You should try and Google those, and after that also you might probably not be able to understand such things. Bring that to me. I'm more than happy to help you on those pieces. There would be few stuff that you will read might have some direct or indirect linkages with the topics and the concept that we're discussing in the class. You can bring those as well, citing those cases or citing those examples, saying that we've discussed this particular topic in the class, but I've read this particular concept. In that concept, something else is happening. How are we linking this theory to the practical concepts? More than happy to take those discussions. More than happy to contribute to those things. And in case you have inquiries on that, I can explain those theses. But you need to make those individual efforts from understanding and going through the newspapers and continuously keep yourself updated. Is that, guys? Is that piece clear? The reason why I'm trying to explain, so what I've explained you first part is what are 4 things that we will look out when we go out and hire people. Now what I'm trying to cover, ये 4 चीजें इस program में होंगी, whether this program will cover which part of these 4 pieces, and if yes, what program will cover and what you need to individually work on, so that we do not have any ambiguity around these pieces, and we are pretty clear what you need to work individually and what will be part of this program, so that when we start running, because we've yet not started running on the piece that I want to run, so that I'm just trying to build a foundation for you guys so that you become comfortable, and when I believe yes, this is comfortable as a batch, and then that's where I will start shooting stuffs. But of course we'll come to that stage. But as of now, the objective for these 2 slides is that you understand what is important for you to win this battle. When I say battle, means these series of the interviews that you will get through in case you get to that stage. And if yes, then you understand at the beginning of this journey what pieces would come, or what this journey will help you to build, what you need to work on individually. That's what I'm trying to build. So on this slide, guys, last piece as well. On the Excel, of course, whether you know the Excel, whether you don't know the Excel, you don't need to worry too much about this pieces. So this program or this journey, I think that's what I think question that I think Parul or somebody raised, whether this program or journey will cover the Excel. The answer is yes. So if you're somebody who have not done Excel in the past, you don't need to worry. This program will start from scratch and will take it from there and go up to the advanced level as well. So just to summarize, point number 2, which is analytical skills. Yes, this program will give those opportunities, but you still need to work those individually. Numbers, point number 4, good with the numbers. Again, these are 2 parts. One, you need to work individually in case you have mental blocks or you have some mindset from that perspective to work. Otherwise, this program will take you through those entire calculations and all. You will do all this stuff in Excel. In terms of keeping yourself updated in terms of what's happening around, again, heavily you need to individually drive this, but to the extent what is relevant for the discussion and topic that's been lined up in the journey, we'll take those discussions. Yeah. किसी कुछ पूछना हो, बताना हो, disagreements
Yes,
हो,
I have one question.
Go ahead.
I have a question, no disagreement. All the 4 things you have told us is that it merely depends upon the curiosity, what level you have. But for point 2 and 4, I want that because you are interacting with us, and during our next classes and all, that if you can point out us individually that you have to improve upon these parts, because 3 and 1, anyhow, it all depends upon you will teach us, and you'll to the level of curiosity we can make ourselves proficient. But for 2 and 4, if you can help us out to have a litmus test on us, that no, you have to improve upon 2 and 4, because 2 and 4 are what I feel is a very critical part if going for this financial analytics and all.
So Deepak, yes, I agree. These are important pieces, and as you probably said, critical is quoted unquote. So yes, you can say these are critical pieces. So in terms of your first part, that can I individually help and guide? I think what you're trying to ask is that, for example, there are 2 individuals, let's assume Deepak and let's assume Rishabh. So can I as a trainer tell Deepak, okay, these are your strengths and these are your areas of improvement, let's work more on these. Whereas for Rishabh, this would be completely different set from a strengths and weaknesses perspective. I think Deepak, that's what you're trying to tell, correct? That individually, can you try and help us in terms of where we are good and what are the areas of improvement? Correct, if I understand correctly.
No, not exactly on that part.
Okay.
But because during the course of journey of our discussions and your teaching on different aspects of financial analytics, I want to know that means you can judge us on that. You cannot, and you will not be able to do that individually. But a sense you must come up with that these are people
हाँ
who
तो
can
जज कर
do.
लिया. So suppose मैंने आपसे इंटरेक्शन करके मैंने जज कर लिया, उसके बाद what you expect? You expect from me, you expect from me कि मैं आपको बताऊं, correct? कि ये यहाँ पे आपकी strength है, you're working in the right direction into those pieces. But here I believe in my judgment and my assessment and interaction for so far during this journey, I believe यहाँ पे आप weak पढ़ रहे हो, ये आप गलत direction में जा रहे हो. That's way I've understood your question, unless you say.
Yes, if you can do, if means that what I
हाँ
can
तो
expect.
वही तो मैं पहले बोल रहा था कि रशिया अबाउट फ्रूम में मैंने असेसमेंट किया कि हाँ तुम ये स्ट्रेंथ है, ये वीकनेसेस, एंड देन you continue to work on your strengths and in area of improvement. Once we identify that, then probably we start working कि अच्छा ये area of improvement को कैसे करना. Those areas of improvement could be individuals, those areas of improvement could be at a batch level as well, or could be at a group level, that out of 20 students, 4-5 students are struggling those, and I bring those to 4-5 students in a particular group, and give them a couple of activities. Okay, तुम लोग ये सब करो so that you overcome those learning curves. यही I think आप पूछना चाह रहे हो, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So and not only for point 2 and 4, Deepak. So of course point 2 and 4, as I said, for point 2 and 4, anyways, this will be heavily covered into those sides, but same would apply for point 3 as well, because when we work on the Excel, probably it seems that you might be working into the Excel, and hence you seem to be do not have too much of a concern on the point number 3. But for others on this call or in this batch, who especially those who are new to the Excel, would be worried about point 3 as well, the way you are worried about point 2. So point 2, 3, 4, of course, you will get a lot of feedback from me, both at a batch level, both as an individual level, that yes, these are something where you need to work more. And for example, in Excel, it is going to happen. I'm telling you, it is going to happen. Then out of 20 students, probably 2-3 students or 5-6 students might be very much at the early stage of the Excel. There might be few students which might be at a somewhere in mid stages, and some of you might be already at an advanced stage. So the students will start feeling those getting into those uncomfort zone, because when I will explain the particular concept, there would be student who will pick this in 1 minute. There would be another student who will take probably 5 minutes. There will be another student who might not even understand after 20 minutes also. So leave that with me. Yes, the student who's not able to understand even after 20 minutes, I need to work on them in a different manner vis-a-vis somebody who's able to pick those things in a first minute. So point number 2, point number 3, and point number 4. Point number 4, as I said, there is certain piece of element that you need to work individually from a mindset perspective, because I've seen a lot of students in last 10, 11 odd years when I've been into these sessions of taking these class kind of in mentoring classes, is some of these candidates mentally have some kind of a block in terms of when the numbers comes on the screen. So also मैं इतना आपको हेल्प नहीं कर पाऊंगा जितना आपको पर्सनली इनिशिएटिव्स लेने पड़ेंगे. Yes, I will tell you what are the activities or exercises that are available through which you can come out of those mental blocks. But उसके अलावा the entire calculation क्या होता है, कैसे होता है, point 2, 3, 4 would be taken care of. You will get those individual feedbacks and you will get the feedback at the batch level. Point number 1 is something which you need to drive individually. Which means if you're not reading newspapers, you're not trying to put an effort and time from your side, which means you will not have those questions, and you will not be able to come back to me for asking those questions. If you don't ask me questions, what's happening around in terms of what you've read, you will not get those answers from me, correct? So Deepak, sorry to give you a long answer, but does it capture? I've deliberately given a detailed explanation so that it's these 2 slides to me is very important for today's agenda, and I have no reservation in spending a decent time on these 2 slides.
Yes, you correctly answered my question.
Anybody else? Anything else, guys? Please. I've been saying this. I understand you. This is a new batch. You will take your time to open up. You will take time to understand my methodology and my thought process, the way I'm looking. I'm not trying to look at this bunch of 18 kids. as just okay, ठीक है. I come and read those slides and go. Honestly, I don't know how many of you have interacted with some of my previous students, but that's not the way I drive my batches. It has to go beyond that. It's not only about building your knowledge; it's about building your entire talent as a pool, building your personality. Of course, this is a little different in a session like this where I can't see you, but believe me, that's the way we need to look at, because when we hire people, we don't hire people only for the knowledge. We hire the people for the entire talent as a package. So
So
I don't know
it's
how many
only
of you
Excel.
understand.
So it's only Excel, or do we need to learn any other IT software also?
अभी के लिए इस जर्नी में Excel बहुत होगा, but
Okay.
because every organization use different software. When the organization takes you on board, they will put you in some trainings to understand the software that which they will use.
Okay.
So you focus at least till the time you get selected in the organization and you move in the floor of the organization. You don't need to worry about any other software apart from Excel.
There will
Okay,
be
sir.
periodic assessments.
Oh, so when you say periodic assessment from me, from you, or from Marticus, what's the question? Which side you want to ask?
From
me,
your
from
side,
you?
from the trainer perspective.
मैं आपको हर सेकंड असेस कर रहा हूँ पारुल.
Okay.
That's my mindset, guys. I've been trained on hiring people. Okay, so please understand. I know you've not met me, so you don't understand too much of stuff. But that's the way we have been built and we've been trained, because every interaction that you're doing with me, I'm judging you, correct? I'm trying to assess what's wrong, what's good. So that's the first part. Don't I am not somebody who will assess you only in that exam. I'm not somebody who will do that. Your assessment will go on every interaction or an opportunity you will get to interact with me. Yes, there would be some periodic assessment that would be done by as a part of this program, which would be more formal assessments. So this program will run into 3 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, and at the end of each level there would be a formal assessment that would be done. Third, to me, which is important, your assessment. ठीक है, मेरे हिसाब से आपको भी अपना assessment करना चाहिए, and I think that should be done at the end of each session. Not only about this journey, even if you're not part of this program, and even when you go out, that's the way I do. At the end of each day, I try and make an assessment. Okay, what I've learned during the day. Have I made any addition to myself from a knowledge perspective or something else in this entire day? If the answer comes out to be yes, then I get a good sleep. If the answer comes out to be no, then of course I wasted that day, correct? Which means if you do this assessment, then at the end of the month, at the end of the year, a lot of extra talent that comes automatically to you, and that's where you go out in the market and able to extract higher offers in the market. That's something that you need to understand, guys. And of course, I understand these are not stuff that you will absorb in a one day. You need to spend some time, probably a month or so, to understand this entire mindset, because these are some of the stuffs which can't be explained in a theoretical concept. These stuffs will start coming to you naturally when you start spending more time. So Pal, to give you a very quick and short answer, the answer is yes, there would be a periodic assessment. From a program perspective, assessments, and from my perspective, I have assessments on a continuous basis whenever you interact with me.
Okay.
Unless sorry, unless you claim, so don't make those assessments.
Sorry.
And this ties back to the. So I said that unless you told me, you means any individual or candidate want that assessment not to be done. And this ties back to the same question that Deepak asked earlier, that would you give us individual feedback, or can you help us and let us know individually what are your areas of improvement or where we are lacking and stuff like so. Unless I assess you, I will not be able to give those feedbacks. And the reason why I said unless you don't want me to, because sometimes what will happen, these feedback will not be easy for you to take, because if you're not good at something, it takes a lot of guts to listen from somebody else that you're not doing good in this piece. So yes, that those would be a difficult conversation, and some of you might not like those conversation. I'm fine when you come back to me and say, okay, sir, मुझे feedback मत दो, or don't point my areas for improvements, but you okay with me?
So which newspaper do you recommend to read?
Your choice, your choice. But the way you should try and look at, if you're not reading newspapers currently, or you've not read newspapers at any point of time in the past, any point of time का मेरा मतलब है regularly for 6-7 months or for a couple of months regularly. It's not कि एक बार कभी पढ़ा. If no,
Yes.
so your end target should be Economic Times, at least in next 3.5 or 4 months. ठीक है, उसके बाद we can change targets to Business Standards and other advanced newspapers like Financial Express, but at least Economic Times should be a target. So I don't know in terms of your background, but if you're somebody who doesn't come with a lot of finance or economics background, you will have a lot of difficulty in starting with Economic Times directly. So you might start with some easier of the newspapers like Times of India, Hindustan Times. Try and spend some time for a month or so, and then you can start upscaling yourself slowly towards it. Somebody who comes from a commerce and economics background and believes that he or she is comfortable to start directly with Economic Times, you can start directly from Economic Times as well. And again,
Okay.
Economic Time does not give me any royalty or any promotion fees, so I have no. Don't take me wrong. So you can pick and choose any newspaper, but these are some of the easy names that I try and follow. So the way I have built, I have progressed this when I was at your age, or at least from a career perspective at the same phase is I started with these Times of India and Hindustan, because that helps you to understand how do you read newspapers and get comfortable with this. Try and spend a couple of months, then start moving to Economic Times, stay there for a couple of years, and then start moving to Business Standards, newspaper Business Standard, and then try and spend again 3-4 years for that, and then start moving towards Financial Express, and then once you get comfortable and complete this journey, then you start looking at some of the international financial newspapers as well. That's the way I have done this. I have been into this journey, and then you can plan accordingly for yourself.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other question on this slide, guys, before I move to the next slide, which is more on the behavioral side?
Sir,
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Sir, actually, I gave one interview for analyst post. So in that interview, they were asking a lot of puzzles. Instead of asking the theoretical background of the subject, they were asking a lot of puzzles. So, sir, how do we tackle these kind of interviews?
Puzzle, give me an example.
For example, sir, you have got 2 liters of two buckets with 5 liters and 3 liters of water, and you have to somehow give 1 liter of water out of these 2 buckets. So
point number 4 पे check कर रहे हैं ना वो, how good
yes,
how good you are with the numbers. So they're trying
yes,
to
sir.
check your point number 4 only.
Yes, sir. So how do we tackle, sir?
See, tackle, though, I don't know. When you say tackle means it's your presence of mind. It's again goes back to the point number 4, how comfortable you are with the numbers, how easily you can play with these numbers. But
okay.
What I have seen, I don't know for which organization and for which kind of an level that you were being interviewed. Generally, these questions could be let's assume 1 or 2 out of the many,
Yes,
and the decision of selecting or letting the candidate move to the next round is not heavily dependent on these kind of questions.
okay.
So suppose if you've answered all those technical questions right, and as an attitude or as a personality you've taken care of certain things, and let's assume out of those, these two questions are being asked to you, which is of nature what you explain, and let's assume you have managed one and you're not being able to manage the other. Honestly, I would take you on the board.
Okay.
So don't try and worry too much about this piece. These type of questions right now, ये
Okay.
automatically build होने शुरू हो जाएंगे once you start becoming comfortable with the numbers.
Yes.
Anything else? Anybody else? This is important slide, guys. So I'm a little surprised to see that only few students have some questions or queries on this, and others are keeping quiet. This is an important piece, guys. Correct. So if you don't speak, if you don't interact, I hope you understand. It's a problem for you. It's loss for you. Because it's another part of the personality, correct? That can I ask questions? If no, then you have a problem. Last time, any questions or doubt in this slide before I move? Okay. This is the behavioral part, which again we look at when we roll out offers. This is something which I will not worry too much, at least for you right now, because most of you will not be applying at a role where you will get where you would be given authority to take those decisions. This will come later in the part of your career, so I'm not worrying too much about this piece. Some of the important pieces that at least is relevant for your starting part of your career, at least in this segment, is these pieces. Now, again, if I have to rank this, so for me, this becomes point number one. Your ability to do this. This is very, very important. And this piece. Now, of course, this will have two parts to this. One is your communication piece. Again, this is not a communication class. This is not an English speaking class. So this you need to work individually in case you have problems with this side. The other part of this is what I believe ties back to this, which means do you have an ability to analyze things, जो मैंने previous slide में cover किया? If yes, then वो analysis से काम नहीं चलेगा. You need to convince the client, because client will not let this easily happen, because somebody who's giving you a $10 million check and say, okay, go and invest, he or she is not going to let you do that easily. He will or she will ask, and they have the entire authorities as well to ask probably 100 questions around this. Why this? Why not this? Why this? And then you need to convince. You need to have you should be able to answer those questions to the satisfaction of those to the satisfaction of the person who's raising those questions, and then you get comfortable. Okay, I can trust this person. This has answered my all those queries, and that's where I believe that this last piece, the second part of the fourth point, comes in, which is more of your interpersonal skills and your ability to persuade, ability to convince somebody. Anything on point 2 and 4, guys? Point 2 and 4.
Persuasion skills.
Your ability to convince, your ability to answer questions, your ability to articulate your answers so that somebody understands what you're trying to say. Your ability, if somebody doesn't believe, so if you believe the X is good and somebody believes no, X is not good, can you convince somebody with your logics?
Basically, to convince the customer.
It's not about customer, it's about everyone. So interview में भी जाके आप convince ही करोगे ना interviewer को कि आपको आता है.
Okay.
Okay. Even if you don't know, even if you know the topic, but you're not able to convince the interviewer that you know the topic, you will not get the point or you will not get selected. That's very important piece.
Okay, sir.
Ishan, on second point,
Yeah.
is the negotiation and persuasion. It does not imply into sales, right?
मतलब समझा नहीं मैं.
Like we have the aspect in investment banking that you have to sell the idea. So if someone is not that good in selling or bargaining something, so how we can work on
यार बार्गेनिंग यहाँ पे आपको कोई कोई वेजिटेबल्स और फ्रूट्स नहीं खरीदने हैं जो उसकी बार्गेनिंग की डिस्कशन यहाँ पे हो रही है. सो I'm don't worry too much about the bargaining piece. So if your question is you are
like
that
negotiating in a
you
meeting or in discussions is
negotiating what? Negotiating what?
on
Negotiating what?
on your research piece.
हाँ तो उसमें 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 कंफर्ट क्यों नहीं होगा? अगर आपने कोई अच्छा एनालिसिस किया है and you've done your analysis to the depth that you believe is right, then why will you have a problem to convince someone or at least to explain what you have done? Only when you've done a shady or sketchy work, then you will get into uncomfort zone. Okay यार मैंने तो इतना डीप में काम किया नहीं, उसने कुछ डीप क्वेश्चन पूछे तो मैं क्या ऐसे आंसर करूंगा. करेक्ट पर
Yeah. Okay.
So it's, I think this is another like mindset issue. A lot of people, and I've seen a lot of girls who generally comes with this thought process कि सर मुझसे sales नहीं होगा, मुझे sales अच्छा नहीं लगता है. Try and understand, guys. This is not sale that you've seen. This is not going from door to door and selling a mutual fund or selling a aquaguard. ये वो sales नहीं है. This is people dream of getting into these jobs. Okay. So these are not those sales जो आपने देखी हैं. These are not those sales जिसमें आपके अपने concerns होते हैं. I understand you have your concerns. Could be from a safety perspective, could be a comfort zone perspective. Yeah, मैंने finance, मैंने I've done my education. Why should I go from door to door and start selling this product? Okay, I understand those pieces, but these are not those kind of in sales. So that's why the parole, as you said, कि सर जो somebody is not comfortable with the sales and stuff like this. तो वो थोड़ा सा इशू से आपको बाहर आने की जरूरत है जहाँ पे वो सेल्स की बात नहीं हो रही है.
Yeah, thank you. You got it right. Thanks.
And I understand because a lot of candidates, and I said especially girls will have a lot of concerns around this, but this is not those type of sales unless you and if you're in a decent organization, you will probably realize yourself these are not those kind of sales that we're referring to. Yeah. Any other question?
So like in the organization, sir, there are existing customers, or how we will interact with the new customers?
Sorry?
Sir, in the organization, like we are in the consultancy part, so how we will interact with the some new customer?
How you
Like
will
sir, like new customer, come by own in the organization, like we have to do the call or anything else to interact with the new client.
could be combination of everything ना, depend करता है क्या सिनेरियो है, आप किस लेवल पे हो, क्या है, but it could be everything, anything. It also depends on the size of the client ना. जो big client होंगे वो तो ना आपसे फोन पे काम कर ले देंगे आपको, वो आपसे एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे आके मिलो.
Okay.
दिस इज अगेन जो मनमीत आई थिंक पूछने की कोशिश कर रहा है या जो क्वेरी रेज करने की कोशिश कर रहा है वो यही है कि क्या मुझे कॉलिंग करना पड़ेगा, क्या डज विल इन्वॉल्व कोल्ड कॉलिंग, यही क्वेश्चन है ना तेरा, यही कंसर्न यही फियर है ना तेरा।
मैम सर कोल्ड कॉलिंग इन द सेंस मतलब ऐसे कि जैसे एग्जिस्टिंग कस्टमर हैं उनसे तो हम इंटरेक्ट कर सकते हैं इजीली, बट जैसे नए कस्टमर सर हम लोग को मतलब जैसे लाने हैं, ऐसा कुछ हो सकता है क्या सर?
हाँ हो सकता है,
कि नए कस्टमर से
हो
हो
सकता है,
सकता है।
हो सकता है, हो सकता है, बी मेंटली प्रिपेयर्ड, बट दैट्स व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग, दैट्स व्हाट आई टोल्ड पारुल, वो नए कस्टमर लाने हैं, ये वो नहीं होगा जो तुम सोच रहे हो।
ओके
ठीक है, सो डोंट वरी टू मच अबाउट दिस पीस। अभी आपको पता ही नहीं है कि क्या होता है, क्या ट्रांजेक्शन होते हैं, किस तरह के इन्वेस्टमेंट्स की हम बात कर रहे हैं। जब हम वहां जाएंगे देन यू विल रियलाइज ओके ये कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट चीज।
ओके सर।
In case no more questions, so point number 3, problem solving skills. As I said, this is again very similar. For example, I think somebody was asking the puzzles, वगैरह. I think we've discussed that. And again, this draws back to your ability to be comfortable with the numbers, your ability to understand what's happening, ability to have that mindset of identifying what's the problem and stuff like this. Point number 1, I'm not worried too much about this as of now, because this will come probably very the later part of your career when you start leading the teams and you would be required to make those decisions, but not too much of concern at least this stage, or at least for next 5-10 years, 3 to 5 years at least to start this journey. Okay, before I conclude anything on these 2 slides, before I wrap this up, these 2 slides should give you a good flavor in terms of what is required to win this battle. उसमें से क्या क्या इस प्रोग्राम में आने वाला है, क्या क्या आपको खुद करना है. That's the end takeaway that you should try and understand. If you understood then the purpose of this session is served. If you're not understood this, then you're in a problem. So I'm giving you 30 seconds again last time just to absorb this and see in case you have any doubt before I move further.
Sir, I have a question. Hello?
हाँ जी, कुछ क्वेश्चन है?
Hello? Sir, I wanted to ask for how long company expects us to be on the same role, and after how much time we can move to another role in the company?
This
Next
completely
role.
depends on your performance and the opportunity that the organization gets. Okay, so it could be a couple of months if you perform good and you prove yourself that you're ready for the next role. and there's an opportunity in the next role, why will an organization not push you? But if you don't prove, and even there is an opportunity, you will not get pushed.
Okay.
Just up to you as an individual, how strong you perform, how quickly you make your bosses convinced that you're ready for the next role.
Okay, sir.
Hey, last time, anything else? Yeah. So, so next, I think next slide is don't follow too much of this, because this is not the typical day-to-day working for us. ठीक है कि ऐसा ही होता है, मॉर्निंग में ऐसा होता है, आफ्टरनून में ऐसा होता है, ऐसा नहीं है. But broadly, it is around those pieces that you need to do certain things before market opens, because you need to want to understand those news, what has happened over the night, or some of the other international market that is open. So what's happening on that before your market opens, so you can take those positions accordingly. You of course will need to meet the client during the day. You need to collect data in terms of what the research, what you're working on. You need to update some softwares or databases in case you're working on those pieces. You need to submit your research reports. You need to understand what's happening. If you're part of the sales, you need to do marketing as well. You need to go and meet the clients as well. You need to sell your ideas and those research as well. And of course, you will be required to prepare financial models, undertaking valuations, your research reports, stuff like that. So broadly, yes, ये सब चीजें होती हैं. बट जिस ऑर्डर में और क्रोनोलॉजी में और जिस तरीके से बताया, आफ्टरनून में ये होगा, मॉर्निंग में ऐसे होगा, ये इतना ऐसे नहीं होता. इट्स pretty fluid, works throughout the day. हाँ जी. So this wraps up this section. किसी को कुछ पूछना है before we close this piece? Because हाँ जी, किसी को कुछ पूछना है, कुछ ऐड करना है?
सर इसमें जैसे सेल्स के अलावा नॉर्मल एनालिस्ट्स की जॉब्स भी तो होती होंगी, नॉर्मल जो फाइनेंशियल एनालिसिस ही करें रिगार्डिंग कस्टमर से रिलेटेड.
हाँ, वो भी होती है.
ओके.
हाँ जी, anything else guys?
One question to the earlier slide is that you are saying that behavioral part in demand skills, it is directly correlated with your technical skills.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yes.
Point number 2, it is directly related to your technical skills. It's earlier slide number 17.
What
because how we are transforming it into a behavioral part, because if we don't have the technical skill set,
you will
then
not be able to convince someone. That's
exactly
completely agreed, noted, no disconnect. But the vice versa is not true. What I mean by vice versa is, suppose there are many cases where the person knows what it is, has a very good, strong technical knowledge, but still he or she is not able to explain stuff. Correct?
Yes,
ऐसा
yes.
होता है कि नहीं होता?
Surely hotas.
Correct. Let me give an example. You see a lot of trainers who will have 20 degrees on the paper, but still it doesn't turn out to be a good trainer, correct? So वो क्यों होता है? ऐसा थोड़ा उनको knowledge नहीं है. ऐसा थोड़ा कि उनको वो eligibility criteria उन्होंने meet नहीं करेंगे. वो इसलिए होता है because in spite of the fact they have a knowledge, But this last piece, which is more on the behavioral side, your ability to articulate, ability to understand what is the target audience. What, for example, if I have to explain a particular topic, that's when we move to the valuation. When I know if I have to explain a valuation for this batch, vis-a-vis if I have to explain the valuation for a CFA class, or vis-a-vis I need to explain the valuation for one of my B school MBA batch, the kind of a delivery that has to be done will be very, very different. The kind of an example that will come in, the kind of a case study that will come in, the level which I want to go down in terms and go up would be very different. And that's what you need to understand, correct? Same thing is expected out of you. And that's what I'm saying, that's the behavioral part of it. तो आपकी नॉलेज तो आपको चाहिए ही चाहिए, इसमें तो कोई डाउट ही नहीं. इफ यू डोंट हैव अ टेक्निकल नॉलेज, इंटरव्यू में कोई आपको पूछता है वैल्यूएशन क्या होता है, या कोई केस स्टडी देता है, या कोई केस देता है, बोलता है इसका वैल्यूएशन करके दिखाओ, ये वैल्यू करो. तो ऑफ कोर्स यू नीड टू नो दोस कांसेप्ट्स टू वैल्यू दिस, बट स्टिल दैट्स नॉट द एंड कि मैंने नॉलेज कर लिया. आपको ये भी आना चाहिए, मेरे को नॉलेज के बाद इसको मैं एक्सप्लेन कैसे करूंगा. अगर वो मुझसे बैकफायर क्वेश्चन होता है, या मुझसे फायरिंग को लाइन पे डालता है कि मुझे 50 क्वेश्चन बैकफायर पे मारता है, तो आई नीड टू हैव पेशेंस टू लिसन दोस क्वेश्चन. आई नीड टू हैव दैट mental stability to respond each of those individually and say, okay, आपने मेरे 50 क्वेश्चन शूट करे, पहले का आंसर ये, दूसरे का आंसर ये, तीसरे का आंसर, stuff like this, and you don't lose your patience and maintain that calm, okay, and then start answering. वो पार्ट मैं बोल रहा हूँ behavioral है. and technical piece जो हमने स्लाइड 2 पे, इससे पहले वाली स्लाइड पे कवर की. क्या कभी ऐसा होता नहीं है दीपक आपके साथ या बाकी लोगों के साथ, कभी ऐसा हुआ नहीं कि आपको इंटरव्यू में क्वेश्चन पूछा, आपको आता था बट आप फिर भी एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर पाए? कभी नहीं हुआ?
Yes, happened with me.
ठीक है, सबके साथ हुआ होगा. अगर वो हुआ, अगर आपको आता था का मतलब है कि वो टेक्निकल नॉलेज थी, बट देन व्हाट यू मिस्ड इज समथिंग एल्स. और ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि आपको आता था, आपने एक्सप्लेन करने की कोशिश करी, बट सामने वाले को आप नहीं समझा पाए. तो वो भी थोड़ा बिहेवियरल पार्ट है जो मैं पॉइंट 2 में कवर करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. बट वाइस वर्सा विल नॉट हैपन. आई एग्री विद यू दैट इफ यू डू नॉट हैव नॉलेज, और आप कितने भी ज्यादा एनालिटिकल, सॉरी नॉट परसुएडिंग या कन्विंसिंग बंदे हो, बट आपको तो नॉलेज नहीं, तो आप कन्विंस क्या करोगे? Deepak, you're with me on this?
Yes, and something that's also happens that you are trying to convince the people and they don't want to convinced. They know the thing what he wants to.
वो भी स्किल सेट है, करेक्ट? कि अगर मैं एक्सप्लेन कर रहा हूँ, मुझे पता लग गया कि तुम जानबूझ के मेरी चीज को नहीं समझना चाहते, हाउ डू यू हैंडल दैट इशू इन एन इंटरव्यू? बिकॉज you can't hit the ego or you can't be rude to that person, correct? Interview फिर तो सिलेक्शन गया आपके हाथ से. That's also a skill set, correct? That how do you manage those pieces? Because आप ये नहीं बोल सकते अच्छा सर मैं गलत हूँ आप सही हो, वो भी नहीं कर सकते. आप उसको ये भी नहीं बोल सकते सर आप मेरी सुन नहीं रहे हो, क्या टाइम पास लगा रखा है. So you need to handle those pieces, and how do you move those conversation at in your favor at the same time without giving disrespect, without insulting or hurting the ego of the interviewer, and try and move the discussion in your favor, even if he or she doesn't get convinced completely the way you wanted to get, what you wanted him or her to get convinced. ये सब सॉफ्टवेयर साइड है ना स्किल्स का. फिर एक और चीज है, आई डोंट नो if some of you at least for those who will come back to me for those sessions, for those kids I will also work on some of those high additional skill set and these pieces. One is, can you avoid questions in an interview? So for example, if you know ये मेरा एरिया, ये मेरा वीक एरिया है, how do you handle the conversation कि आप अपने वीक एरिया के क्वेश्चन को अवॉइड कर जाओ, यानी इंटरव्यूअर को इतनी आसानी से वो क्वेश्चन ही नहीं पूछने दो, सो दैट वो आंसर करने की जरूरत ही ना पड़े. आई डोंट नो हाउ हैव यू अंडरस्टूड व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन टू यू, बट जो लोग मेरे पास वापस आएंगे इनटू दोस इंटरव्यू सेशंस विल फॉर दोस I will also work on those additional skill set as well, that how do you get that ability under your belt to do that as well. That's very important, right? Because if I'm entering in an interview room, I know these are ABC is my weak area, and I do not want to play the game or want to have an interview on these segments. I want to stay away from these segments. But how do you avoid those is again an important thing that comes in. And इसका second part है कि जो आपकी strengths है, how do you bring the discussion on your strength side, and let's play that game on my pitch. ठीक है, तो ये सब कराया जाएगा जो लोग वापस आएंगे in terms of for those sessions. So yes, all this stuff will happen. ठीक है?
Yes, and some cases it also happens that the other side of the table, they want a particular means elaboration and particular words on, or you can say that you can say that
selection of the words.
Selection of the words, and if that will be a part of your answer, then only they will be satisfied.
Correct. तो वो सब चीजें आपकी स्मार्टनेस है. करेक्ट कि आर यू एबल टू गेस एंड अंडरस्टैंड द टारगेट ऑडियंस. तो वही मैंने आपको कहा ना कि अगर एक सेशन में आपके लिए ले रहा हूँ, एक सेशन वीजा एक सीएफए बैच के ले रहा हूँ, वीजा एक बी स्कूल के ले रहा हूँ, वीजा कॉर्पोरेट के लिए ले रहा हूँ. ठीक है, I need to be careful what is my audience. I need to be smart enough the choice of the word, the choice of the case studies, and the way I explain. Okay? The topic same रहेगा, but you need to move up and down. That's the same skill set you need to do in an interview as well. And in fact, why interview? After that, when you join the organization, वहाँ पे भी करना है ना. The way you would speak to your boss, or the way you would speak to your member or your colleague, or the way you would explain the same concept to your junior, you need to have that ability to adjust those conversations depending upon to whom you are speaking and what's your objective.
Agreed.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Anybody else? ठीक है.
Hello.
Yes, Subhash.
Can you hear me, sir? Sir,
Very good.
अभी जो practically होगा इस journey में, it is sufficient कि either आप कोई और भी books वगैरह का recommend करेंगे?
Yes, वो भी होगा. But आपका जो starting point होगा for you to absorb will be the stuff which is available, which means ये सब PPT और जो मैं class में आपको notes in the sense जो भी मैं बोल रहा हूँ, in case you're preparing a notes and stuff like this. So वो plus जो भी आपको access मिला होगा ना एक portal का मार्टिकस से.
LMS का मिला होगा. LMS का.
हाँ, तो उसमें बहुत सारा आपके पास मटेरियल है in terms. So वो आपका starting point होगा. अगर आप उतना कंप्लीट कर लोगे then and if you believe कुछ एक्स्ट्रा जरूरत है या किसी टॉपिक में एक्स्ट्रा जरूरत है then I will let you know specifically क्या जरूरत है. पर उतना तो कंप्लीट हो पहले, बिकॉज वो ही इतना सारा है कि आपसे कंप्लीट हो जाए 3-4 months में. that will require a lot of effort.
काफी lot of उसमें material है.
वही बोलो पहले वो तो कंप्लीट.
This is the most important.
सॉरी सुभाष.
मैं बोलूँ सर, ये जो अभी आप स्लैब यहाँ पे शिफ्ट कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पे ये इज आई थिंक इज द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट behavioral skills.
Yeah, both these like technical and behavioral are important. That's why I said I am spending good amount of time on these slides, and you need to absorb these. I don't know how many of you understood the reason why I'm spending time on these 2 slides. I could have easily run these slides in probably 30 seconds saying ये चाहिए, but क्या चाहिए ये पता लगना जरूरी है. और out of those things, what will come out of this journey and what you need to work individually. If you know this, then you start planning your next 3 months and 4 months, and you start putting your action plans. Okay, these are some of the areas where I need to work. What's my action plan? मैं कैसे करूँगा? मैं कर रहा हूँ कि नहीं कर रहा हूँ? And मैं करूँगा तो is that what I need to do? I think that's something you need to strategize for yourself.
And my last question is, sir, here is a lot of areas, sectors in an analytical point, like a credit analysis, equity researcher, difference. So how can I, sir, observe that that is a particular is for me, that it should be go there, I should go there?
वो बहुत बाद में आएगा, so that probably will assess after a month or so, Subhash,
Assessment
because
here, assessment.
हाँ,
Assessment.
तो वो अभी मुश्किल है, because आपको भी नहीं पता क्या है और मुझे भी नहीं पता आप क्या on हो. So as we start moving towards this journey, you will understand, okay, what's modeling, what's valuation, what research and stuff like this, and then you will start understanding, okay, this is my cup of tea, this is not what I enjoy, this is what I do, this is what I like, and over a period of time I will start understanding, okay, this is your strength, these are your weaknesses, and okay, these kind of jobs or these kind of portfolios are something which your strength can handle. So that's why those discussions will happen, but not at this stage. Probably we need to wait for some time before we start understanding, when before you understand each of these things and I start understanding your skill set and talent.
Yes.
Okay. So guys, in case no questions, probably will close here. I don't want to start the next section, which is mergers. Maybe we have been getting into the last 5 minutes of this end of this session. So in case any other question, guys, otherwise I will close.
Yeah, Nishant, I have few questions from previous classes.
Yeah, Parul.
Okay, first is regarding the discussion on capital, where I have discussed the cost of equity is more than the cost of debt. Okay, so I wanted to ask that in practical market, why people still go debt free, a cheaper source? Like the cost of equity only includes the dividend part.
Debt has its own complications. So debt comes with a fixed obligation. If you as an organization do not want to create an obligation for you, then you would avoid debt.
Yes, in practical scenario speaking, yes, we would avoid it. And in equity, like you said, the cost of equity. So I wanted to know, the cost of equity includes the dividend only, or the cost of issuing the IPO as well, and the other procedural.
It includes the cost of issuance and stuff like this. Plus the bigger piece is that it also includes the capital appreciation, जो मैंने अभी explain नहीं किया, because when we reach to the valuation stage तब आपको discuss तब explain करूँगा, अभी आपको समझ नहीं आएगा. But to answer your question, yes, it includes the cost of the issuance, it includes dividend, and it also includes something else जो अभी हमने करना बाकी है.
Okay. Like what I know, as per my knowledge, current knowledge, that dividend is not what every company pays every year.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct. So if even if the company has paid a zero dividend, that does not mean the cost of equity is zero. Still, the cost of equity is something. वो something वो third component है जो भी मैंने आपको बोला अब कराऊंगा.
Fine. Okay. Yeah, the question arises when the Reliance also moved to debt free. So that's fair.
ठीक है. Anything else, Parul?
Yeah. The next is the capital. The share market is money market or the capital?
Capital market.
Capital market.
Next. Parul?
Sorry, that's it for now. Thanks.
Okay, guys. So thank you. We'll continue the next class. That's fine.
Thank you so much.